Hi, good morning, everybody. I feel like this is a little low. Put it on a book. Let me give everybody a little bit to get on. Hopefully you can hear me. Somebody on, just let me know if you can hear me. I switched over to my AirPods. My kids are home today, as I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing the same. So we're just gonna roll with this, right? I told them to get their breakfast. I'm on the East Coast, so it's already 10 a.m. I was like, get your breakfast and hit the road, people. So, hey, I am Cami. Good, I'm glad you can hear me. Thank you, Susie. So I'm Cami. I'm a nurse. I have been a nurse for over 2 decades. I introduced myself yesterday, but for those of you that didn't watch my video, my background is trauma and critical care. I was a trauma ICU nurse for a very long time and then transitioned into home care. So my prayers are with my colleagues. I no longer work at the bedside. I was able to retire from nursing just in November, but I do feel I feel really led to be a leader in my community during this time. Because right as I'm home, I can provide and help people with things, whether it be online or even my local community, my neighbors and things. So I'm really excited that Elise put this together. I have a lot of notes. I don't want to fire hose you. My goal is that you will take 1 or 2 things that I say and put them into practice, right? It may be something that you haven't heard before or something that you just needed to hear again and in a different way. So knowledge is power. And I'm so grateful we have tools. So let me tell you a little story first. Back in 2009, I was working in a ICU in Philadelphia, a large academic medical center. And we were like in the hot zone of the H1N1 swine flu outbreak. And it was crazy town. It was crazy town. There were a lot of really sick people, a lot of young people were sick, kind of hit that like 2030 population a little hard. It was unnerving. We definitely felt the strain as healthcare providers, needing more staff to come in, needing more supplies and, equipment and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, I have 3 children and my middle son is immunocompromised. And one of his issues was a reactive airway situation. He had asthma and the kid, honestly, was admitted for the common cold, literally the rhinovirus in respiratory distress, maybe like a year before the swine flu outbreak. So I was terrified. As a mom and what I was seeing as a nurse, I was absolutely terrified for my son. And one night, I worked night shift, and one night my husband called me and he said, hey, Jeffrey, it just doesn't sound good. I've been doing nebulizers. I've been doing his inhaler. I think he needs to be seen. And my hospital is right next door to the children's hospital, literally. So I was like, well, just bring him right here because I'm at work. I'll meet you in the emergency room, which is what I did. And he tested positive for swine flu. And I was like, oh no. And, brought him home and we were very lucky. He did not have respiratory complications that we weren't able to, manage at home, but it was a very scary time. So I kind of feel the anxiety and the worry. And this is unprecedented and historical for all of us. My medical colleagues, we don't know what to expect either, right? So I just want to give you some perspective. I think we need to do the best we can, and we need to not allow our worries and our fears to get ahead of us, right? And here's what's cool about my experience then and my experience now is I have tools. Back in 2009, I didn't even understand the natural solutions, alternative complementary therapies. It wasn't even on my radar at that point. I found, I had done some things probably starting in 2011, but definitely not during that. So I am so grateful that I have some things right at my disposal. And I want you guys to, find the gratitude in that, find the joy in that we've got something to try. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, a little bit about viruses. Okay, viruses versus bacteria. Bacteria are everywhere. They're in our environment. They're on our bodies. We coexist with them usually without any issue. You know, there are those, just think about your good bacteria in your gut. We need that good bacteria to then fight off the bad bacteria that comes in. Like they actually create that balance for us and help with our immune system. So bacteria are everywhere. Antibiotics are effective for the most part against bacteria. And then we have viruses. Viruses, oh guys, I might run out of battery. Can you hold on 1 second? I'm sorry, I forgot to grab my charger. I had to move my office. Hold that thought. I'll talk about viruses in a sec. Sorry, this is what you have to do when you move your office. Let me get plugged in. Okay, I'm back. So let's talk about the difference, like what a virus is. So, and this is going to give us some ammunition, how we can, you know, go about what choices we're making, right now. I'm trying to be so compliant. So viruses are smaller than bacteria, and they cannot live without a living host. Right? They can live on surfaces for a period of time and in the environment, but in order for them to grow, in order for viruses to expand, right, and spread, they need a living host, because what they do is they go into the cell and they actually change. It's a DNA situation. They change the DNA of the cell, reprogram the cell so that then the cell itself is starting to replicate the virus. So if the virus does not have that mechanism, that cell, to replicate itself, it cannot spread, okay? So let's keep that in mind, that our whole goal is prevention. If it cannot get a foothold, and that's a lot of like the social distancing and canceling things, is so that it doesn't get a foothold. Without a living host, the virus is gone. Okay, so we want to avoid exposure, if at all possible, to the virus, hence all of these things that our government is putting into place, right? So I just want you to keep in mind, like, that's just why a lot of these, you know, public health initiatives and things are coming out. So how can we prevent viruses? Have you heard of hand washing? I'm sure you have. It's all over the place. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Now, you don't need to use antibacterial soap. That's against bacteria, not viruses. It's really just good hand washing, plain soap and water. Of course, I use On Guard hand wash because that's what I do. But soap and water, same thing with surfaces. You don't necessarily need, you know, antibacterial stuff to clean it. It's really, soap and water is incredibly effective against viruses, as is, I mean, that's why they tell you to do it for 20 seconds, is the friction. The friction is like the most important piece of washing your hands or cleaning a surface, okay? Coughing into your elbow, you wanna prevent the spread, the droplets from your cough or your sneeze. Please, please, please stay home. I worry about our culture because we're kind of that busyness and that like go type A sort of, you can't miss work and, you know, all that stuff has not lent itself to really good public health practices as far as like staying home when you're sick. But now, super important. If you are not feeling well, please call ahead to your doctor before you go in. I know that I have already heard from people that they're getting calls from their doctor saying, you know, wait in your car, we'll tell you when it's your turn, or there's, you know, there's guidance that people are getting to go ahead when you need to seek medical care, okay? When you need to seek medical care, worsening symptoms, prolonged fever, shortness of breath, anything that's just not turning around, it's okay to go ahead and call and say, this is what's happening and how do you want me to proceed with this? You know, lifestyle things are going to be really important. There is a link between chronic lack of sleep and depression, suppression of your immune system. We do not want to do anything that's going to suppress our immune system at this juncture, okay? So sleep is huge. I get that worry is high, anxiety is high, so utilize the tools that you have, those essential oils that you know have calming properties: lavender, vetiver, serenity, Roman chamomile. They're all really high in esters, which are the calming properties. So use them. Get really serious. The kids are home. So use all of those things so that you can start to get really good sleep, because you need to support your body. Stress. We need to decrease our stress levels. And I know it's really hard. It's like the constant combating, just because everybody's stressed out right now, right? Have you been to the grocery store lately? But using tools to decrease your stress. Stress has also been linked to suppression of the immune system. When your body is having a stress response, that is fight or flight, you're in stress, your sympathetic nervous system is activated. You go into that fight or flight response and it shuts off other things in your body, right? So I like humor. It really, when you're in a fight or flight response, it's going to shut off your parasympathetic nervous system. So it slows down your digestive system, because there's nothing worse than, sweetie, why don't you go this way? There is nothing worse than, trying to run away from a saber-toothed tiger and having to go to the bathroom, right? Nobody needs to be pooping in the middle of that. So it's your body's response to slow some things down. One of the things that it slows down is your immune system and your immune response. So we need to be I want you to take this seriously. You need to be very conscious of your stress response, where your level of stress is. If watching the TV is too much, please turn it off. You're going to get the news anyway. If scrolling on Facebook is too much, because all of these triggering posts and make you worry, you need to shut it off. It's a great time to read a book. It's a great time, now that families are going to be home, play a family game, right? Pull out puzzles, read together. Please, please, please take stress seriously. Stress also increases the inflammatory response, and uncontrolled inflammation is a big problem when it comes to your health. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Stay hydrated. Water. Great options to go in your water are essential oils that are high in limonene. Limonene is full of antioxidants, going to help decrease that inflammation. Tangerine and clementine is what I heard somebody recommend, but lemon, lime, all that kind of stuff. Super helpful. Also think about, in the current state of affairs, that respiratory system is something that we need to be mindful of. So using oils or natural remedies that are really supportive of your respiratory system are going to be key. So get out your Breathe, get out your Ravensara if you got it free last month, get out your eucalyptus, get out your peppermint, all really helpful. We've got diffusers, start diffusing. You want to be breathing all of this wonderful, wonderful, supportive essential oils. Okay, create your environment. As we're all home and kind of on edge, let's, grab our oils that are going to support us, not just emotionally, but also physically. So a little bit, there are a ton, and I can't go into as many specifics as I want to, but there are a lot of essential oils that have very, very high antiviral properties and antibacterial properties. I grabbed a few just to give you an idea. We got Melissa, Palmarosa. Did you guys get that free already? Because that was on the list. Lemongrass, yummy stuff. Lime, throw this baby in your water, right? Turmeric, rose, marjoram, black pepper, cinnamon, eucalyptus, and cassia and oregano, of course, okay? So lots of options. And this is one of the things I love about plant medicine, is that there's a lot of overlap in the plant world. So as we're kind of navigating maybe stuff that we're used to using not being available, we have a lot of opportunity to try something that maybe we haven't tried before, or use something that's like sat on the shelf and we haven't known how to use it. So it is okay if you don't have exactly what you think you're used to using. Just grab something else. A really quick way, do a quick search on pubmed.gov. Just put in antiviral essential oils and you'll see all sorts of, so it'll give you ideas of articles. Same thing on aromatic science, really quick way. Or you can just do a Google search, antiviral essential oils, and you will get options. And so just grab what you have. But again, the prevention is really key. So it's okay to go ahead and start using, you should be using some of these tools right away. Like what I've chosen to do, I mean, everybody's been using On Guard and Stronger. You know, when we heard about the On Guard soft gels, I actually made my own. I added Copaiba. Copaiba is really effective because it works on those CD2 receptors in the endocannabinoid system. And ton of those receptors sit in the immune system itself and the gut. 2/3 of your immune system is in your gut. So let's pay close attention, take your probiotics, be taking your digestive enzymes, decrease your sugar intake. All of that is really important right now. But I went ahead and just made my own. This is 30 milliliters so that we're able to just fill veggie cups as needed, okay? Another good opportunity to use Slim and Sassy soft gels, because this baby's got grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, ginger, and cinnamon, right? All of them have a lot of the properties that we really would like right now. But doing a quick search is going to give you an idea of what other options to use. So don't get stressed when you're getting the like, this is out of stock thing. We've got options, which makes me really excited. And I hope this is all making sense to you. Nobody's written anything, but if you do have questions, please ask. So, you know, when it comes to making medical decisions, any medical decisions, you always have to weigh the risk versus the benefit. Like for right now, my mom lives with me. My mom is in her 70s in very, very good health. But I did tell her she's in that high risk category, ages 60 and older. I said, I don't want you running errands anymore. It's out of an abundance of caution, but like, why should she even do that right now when I am able, and I will go and run those errands? I'm not in that high risk category, right? So that's the risk versus the benefit. What's the risk to my mom? You know, of course, yes, I'll share the recipe, Elise. You know, what's the risk to my mom being in the high end, you know, category and her running errands, and what's my risk? And then what's the benefit? Well, it's something easy that I can do for her, right? Same thing. Here's my perspective on using complementary therapies like essential oils and supplements and that kind of stuff, is when you look at the risk, when you really dig down into the risk, there's very little risk. Yes, you need to know how to use them safely. You need to know how to dilute. You need to know, you know, amounts to be taken internally. You need to know ages, right? What's appropriate. The younger the child, the older, fragile, elderly, dilute, use less, more often, right? All those safety things come into play. But generally speaking, from a risk perspective, there is not a lot of risk that I have seen. There's those one-offs. There's actually one of the women that spoke at the Essential Oil Nurses Conference. She started a aromatherapy program out in Minnesota. And she was talking at the conference about how they've done, I think it was over like 60,000 aromatherapy treatments. It's all a nurse-driven policy protocol, and they haven't had any adverse effects. And so that was very telling, right? So let's understand some of the general safety precautions, but as a whole, let's use what we have, because the risk versus benefit, I think, really weighs heavily in our favor. So are there any of these that I should not use if pregnant, is Stephanie's. So I'm not an OB nurse. I will say that clary sage is, that has strong antiviral properties, as one that I would avoid. Other than that, like off the top of my head, I would, you know, obviously talk to your doctor, talk to your OB, but dilute well when you're pregnant. And and just use like typical safety precautions. But there's not a ton that I say no to. I mean, peppermint end of your pregnancy, just related to milk supply, but some people do really fine with that too. So I think it's like a case by case basis. But I did not have essential oils when I was pregnant, so I can't speak to that from personal experience. My kids were older when I started with them, but I think with proper safety precautions, you can use them. And there's lots of options, right? You don't have to use clary sage. You don't have to use peppermint, like, scooch over to other things. I do want to just mention, I've been asked this in my customer group about elderberry syrup. Like, we all love elderberry, and there's some articles coming out. I just felt like I should share it here. I did a little bit of research. I am an aromatherapist. I'm not an herbologist. Like, I wouldn't say that I have expertise in that realm. So I had to do a little bit of research myself. So there's kind of some articles coming up about what's called a cytokine storm, and how elderberry can actually be dangerous in that setting. And when we're looking at viruses that have a respiratory component, the cytokine storm is real, and it's something to be aware of. So cytokine storm, to make it like super easy, cytokines are created as part of an immune response. They are pro-inflammatory proteins, and so they cause all this inflammation. There are times in certain illnesses where the cytokines get out of control. That's the cytokine storm. It's almost like your immune system is a runaway train, and it's just like overproducing. And then there is this surge of these inflammatory compounds that come into the lungs and cause respiratory issues, pneumonia and that kind of stuff. And that's what they're seeing. There are some compounds in elderberry syrup that are linked to cytokine storm. So that's not meant to scare you, but I read a really good article today that kind of like made sense, put it all into perspective for me, and it gave alternatives. So what they were saying was, it is fine to use elderberry syrup as a preventative, and colloidal silver, fine to use it as a preventative, fine to use it at the beginning, like the onset of an illness. But if you notice that things are just getting worse and worse and worse, as opposed to improving, you really should start to see improvement 24, 48 hours. If you don't, it's probably time to back off those things. Remember, I talked about a little bit about inflammation. The link to inflammation and illness is real. So if that inflammation is getting out of control, you're going to start feeling worse and worse and worse, and we don't want that to happen. So alternatives to that, and we've got alternatives, which is so awesome, are some of our anti-inflammatory products like turmeric, right? We have it right at our disposal. Yay, it's back in stock. So grab your turmeric duo-caps. Anti-inflammatory, yarrow, y'all. So I have like 3 of these because I don't take them all the time, and I got them in my convention kits and stuff. But man, I have them at my disposal. So yarrow, super effective as an anti-inflammatory. So you can just transition right to that. Another alternative in general is DDR prime, right? Get these if we can't get the On Guard soft gels. Another thing is vitamin C. Vitamin C is very effective as an anti-inflammatory, and tea tree oil, yay, our happy little Melaleuca or tea tree. So okay to use, from what I'm reading, okay to use elderberry syrup in the beginning and colloidal silver, but if you start to notice that things are not getting better, probably back off the use of that with an abundance of caution, and move to other products. And that is just the beauty of all of this, is we have so many options. Another resource, because I'm all about resources, that is really going to be helpful in this time. I ordered this book. I've given multiple presentations, and so I have like a library of things, but it's by our beloved Dr. Scott Johnson. It's called Surviving When Modern Medicine Fails. Essential oils that could save your life during a crisis. And he has protocols and things like that. So super helpful. I'm glad that I have this resource at my disposal. And so it might be something I found it on Amazon. It might be something that you would like to add to your library as well. Just, given the times, let's use our tools. Let's be educated. Knowledge is power. So I hope this helps. Please post any questions that you have. I will answer as many as I can with as much knowledge as I have. And I think more than anything, I really want to just impart some peace and some hope. Humanity is resilient. Oh, I'm getting emotional. There's a lot going on. Humanity is resilient. And we are going to be okay. And now is the opportunity to spend kindness and joy and love. Reach out to your neighbors that you may not have contact with. Love on each other, because that is what matters, okay? Today and every day. Use this opportunity to get with your family and rediscover some of that closeness that maybe you lost to the world, right? Just look at the positive. We are resilient. We are strong. We have the ability to get through this. We have survived all of our bad days, okay? So peace, love. I am praying for everyone. If you need me, I'm here. Happy to help in any way. Bye.